Today, I am going to talk about how to harvest suckers from your fig tree to make more fig trees. And I do this propagation method a lot. And you're going to be wondering, what is a sucker? And I'm here to show you that today. And this is a really useful propagation technique that's really easy. And it's great for beginners trying to make more fig trees if you want to. It's always a fun gardening experiment. It's also a great option if you live in a climate where you might lose your fig trees. You have backups. So I am excited to show you how I do my suckers. This is my Troiano calabrese. So yes, it's just Troiano from Calabria. If you look in the root ball here, I have 1, 2, 3, what we call suckers. And they come out of the root ball as their own fig trees. So they already have their root systems. And I'm going to show you, and I'm going to dissect this fig tree to successfully remove these and plant them as their own fig trees. So I got you down here, and I'm going to take again 1, 2, 3 suckers. Suckers are branches that emerge from the root ball within the fig tree. This is the main tree, and these are its babies, right? So I'm going to save this mother tree, and I'm going to propagate these new young trees. It's very important to know that the best time to do this and disturb the root ball is when your trees are dormant. All the leaves are off the tree, the sap is of limited flow. It was 28 here last night. What's important to know is that the tree is dormant. It has gone to sleep for the winter, which allows us to mess with its root ball. Since our tree is dormant, I'm going to go ahead and remove it from its pot. And then we're going to take a look and we're going to see where the roots are, how many roots we have to work with. Since they're displaced fairly far from the trunk itself, I'm confident they have a lot of roots. So we can easily transplant them into their own 1-gallon pots. I'll let them stay dormant until springtime and wake up early in the greenhouse. And if I grow them healthy, we can sell them this spring. This is a great honey type fig. It's almost an Adriatic type fig, but it really is more of a honey fig. Now you can see in the root ball here, you can see my different tiers of soil. I have roots all the way down, so there's good root structure, but this is a sucker here. You can see it emerged out of the roots, and this is a sucker here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut around this whole root ball, and I'm going to prune it while I do it. I'm going to hang out of the frame because I want you to see the suckers that I am taking. I'm going to sit on the ground for this one, but the best way I can do it is I use this saw here. You can saw small branches, but it allows me to get into the dense root ball and carve out a large section of the roots because I want to try to keep as many roots intact of these suckers as I can. So let's dig in. If you see really close here, you'll see how far down I may want to go just to make sure I capture some of those roots. So here I went ahead and I removed these suckers from the root ball of the tree. So if you want to zoom out, you can see what I did. Ta-da! Okay, we have the portion of the root ball that we removed that have the suckers in it. Now I'm going to take out chunks without exposing too many of the roots themselves. I know there's roots in there, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this into pieces like a cake. And I'm going to try to evenly distribute the roots. If we take a look, here's a great sucker option. That collapsed on me. Ah! I'm going to try to trace the roots. So you can see the cutting where I cut through it, and you can see the roots attached to it. This will take. I'm excited for this. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in its own pot. I will try to save some of this dirt and some of the existing root system here that's in here because of the mycorrhizae or the bacteria that work with the roots to absorb nutrients. Try to keep that whole colony inoculated in these pots. It sounds really nerdy, but every plant needs mycorrhizae to actually take up nutrients. So I have one cutting down. I'm going to do 2 more, and I'm going to show you how I up pot right next to this plant. And this root ball here, I'm going to save as much as possible. You see a little bit of roots there, and I'm actually going to add this in with the pot. Last but not least, I have a feeling this one has the most roots of all. I'm going to shape it so I can thin it out. for a 1-gallon pot. But you can see where I cut through in the base. Right in there, you see that? That's part of the branch it came out of. But it's all in there. So 1, 2, 3 new fig trees. Is this foolproof? No. Is it way more successful than just rooting cuttings? Absolutely. So I have my 3 fig trees that I am going to put in 1-gallon pots. And I got their roots laid out accordingly. Let's go ahead and fill her up with some potting mix. You can see the stuff that I use. It's a mix of peat. Since peat is acidic, I add 2 tablespoons per gallon of peat with garden lime. And I mix that in. Then I add mushroom compost, soil conditioner, and perlite. That mix works for these 1-gallon pots all the way up to my 20-gallon trees. I'm going to be experimenting in the spring with some new companies, specifically Wilmington Compost Company and Wilmington Food Forest. They both have different formulas that I think are going to work really well depending on the trees that I'm growing. They use more of a topsoil mix with compost, as well as a big focus on the bacteria and mycorrhizae that exist in the soil already. Check it out. Boom! 1 fig tree down. Potted in the potting mix. We'll take our second with our little root system there. Again, dormant trees. That's the key. If you're doing this with live trees, it's not that it won't happen. You can totally do it, but its likelihood of it getting too stressed and dying is much higher. You can also try burying your sucker deeper down in the pot because remember, every node has rooting hormones in it, right where those little specks are. I know I pointed that out on Instagram the other day. So it's a great way to hedge yourself to successfully root a sucker from a mother tree. So in this episode, you're going to see not 1, not 2, but 3 new fig trees that grew on their own from a mother fig tree. This fell out of that root bulb. That's the smallest of the 3. And it still has roots. Look at that. I'm burying it with that existing root ball there and deeper. So the mycorrhizae that you find in root systems, they are very similar to the bacteria and do a similar function that is already in our gut systems that help us break down things like onions and legumes and actually help us absorb nutrients too. So bacteria is everywhere, guys, and there's good and bad. And there's a lot of good bacteria out there. All right. 3 new fig trees, all from this mother tree and its root ball. Now, I'm actually going to repot it back in here with some new stuff. It still has another year with this soil, so I'm only going to put a little bit back in. Voila! Now this fig tree is good for the winter. I might prune her up some more, but she is sleeping nicely. She has some nice, great, deep black organic material. And then throughout the winter, I'm actually going to hit it with some Alaska fish fertilizer. So when it wakes up in the spring, it has all this great nitrogen forward nutrients to help it burst into growth. Okay, so I'm going to take these pots into the greenhouse and I'll show you where I put them on a heat mat. Welcome to my piece of peace. My plumeria, fig trees. In here it's about 55 degrees after a 27 or 28 degree low. See, I got cutting started already. I have my air layers that are slowly waking up over here. And I'm going to add these air layers, this heat mat. One fig tree, 2 fig trees, and 3 fig trees. So you can see I add them to the mat. I kind of want them to wake up in the next few weeks, and I'm going to grow them throughout the winter in this greenhouse. You don't have to. These air layers, I'm letting stay dormant until the springtime. I gave them some trauma by transplanting them, and just because I've lost a lot in the past and I have space to do some air layering and growth, I'm going to put them on the heat mat. But again, you don't have to. This heat mat is awesome for cuttings. You can see I have a big batch here. I have a big batch here. It is so warm that I also have these buffer trays and bins, so I almost don't overheat the cuttings as well. Also, quick reminder, let's rinse them down and give them a nice drink. I'm in a full thermal jacket because it's in high 30s outside right now, but it's really warm in this greenhouse. It's a really great piece for me. I don't know if any of you work with a greenhouse. You don't have to. A lot of these cuttings can be grown on a windowsill in a house. You could put a humidity cup on top of those cuttings. Houses can be dry in the winter when it's really cold. This greenhouse I can spritz with water and keep the humidity up quite easily. Cuttings and air layers appreciate a gentle misting every once in a while to maintain that humidity. You want your trees to wake up and grow throughout the winter through propagating cuttings. It's good to keep them in a humid environment. Again, you can see the suckers here. And so today we talked about suckers. I know in the past I've talked about air layering. I talked about cutting propagation last episode. In this episode, you got to see how I take suckers from an existing fig tree, cut them out of the root ball with their own roots, put them in their own pots, and they will grow to become their own fig trees right here. If you really like this video, like and subscribe. I really appreciate all the support, and I love the collaboration when we talk in the chat below the YouTube video. I do learn from the communication I have with you guys as well, and I hope that this is really supportive for you to start propagating your own fig trees. If you like this video, like it, subscribe. Here to help you grow fig trees, guys. Take care.